This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Brent Daniels. He is an award-winning wholesaler out there in Phoenix, Arizona. This guy does a ton of business. I think this is going to be a great conversation because a lot of people in this industry, 95% at least, if not more, start out wholesaling. And so it's a great way to get your foot in the door. It's a great way to earn while you learn. It's a lot better to learn with a pro next to you or be associated with someone than to go out there on your own, because here's the problem. You go out there on your own, and if you fail a couple of times in a row, you could be out of business. And so it's critical that you get off to a good start and a fast a start as possible, because, you know, I almost bombed out of the creative real estate investing business because I had a few things happen. And to think of the multi-million dollar career in the 27 years I would have missed out on because I just didn't get the right people to help me have a reasonable chance at success. I was out there on my own, learning by hard knocks, not the way to go. You're going to pay somebody. You're going to pay somebody to help you. You're going to pay the street to just let you flounder around, and the street will kick you and spit on you and try to ruin you the best it can. So with no further ado, how are you doing, Brent Daniels? How are you?
Yeah, Mitch, I am excited. We have talked about this since February on the beach in Tulum. We're both part of the Multipliers Mastermind, and I'm really excited about this. I think that there is a lot of mystery around what wholesaling is and what wholesaling can mean to your business if you start out with that as your foundation. Basically, all wholesaling is the art of finding discounted properties. Now, there's really a couple different ways to go about this, right? You could go traditional marketing, which you're paying for people to call you, right? To have those conversations if you're sourcing it yourself. Second way, probably the most common way with people that build big portfolios or people that are just busy in life and they're not like real estate entrepreneurs full time, is they get referrals, right? They get referrals from friends and family, mostly from real estate agents or people that are looking for deals for them. And then the third way, the way that I promote, is to be super proactive and go out there and approach every single distressed property owner in your marketplace and ask them if they would consider an offer on their property. And you will find about 1 out of 200 people that you talk to, the timeline is going to line up, the price is going to line up, the terms of the contract and the agreement are going to line up, and you're going to be able to get discounted property. And so that's just the numbers behind it, Mitch. You know what I mean? It's an exciting business. You know, you've been doing it 27 years. You know what I mean? I've been in it 17 years, and just seeing the evolution that technology has taken on when it comes to not only just the tools that we can use in real estate investing, but also the resources that we have available now, Mitch. We did not have this 10, 15 years ago. And so there's really no excuse not to go out, be proactive in your marketplace and find really good deals.
Yeah. So, you know, when I started, it was a whole different world. There was a different, you know, you could get in the classified ads in the newspaper in 1996, 97, 98. And by, you know, if you started at 8, by 12 noon, you have a perfectly good deal. And you could do it 7 days a week, you know, and if you screwed up, you got 2 deals, you didn't know how you're going to buy them all. So there were some advantages back then. You know, I bought my first 100 deals on credit cards because in my town, houses in the lesser parts of town were 10, 15, 20,000 bucks, you know?
Sure. Yep.
So there were some things that aren't the same as they are now. It's much more competition. Prices are higher, but there's technology now that never existed. There's resources, and my gosh, the amount of knowledge out there that's can be garnered for free, and then some higher echelon or some personal attention that can be garnered with a little bit of pay.
Yeah,
you know, it's night and day. And this technology that we have is global, and you can actually automate. Now, I always, you know, everyone goes, well, wholesaling is a job and you're going to have to do it over and over again. I says, well, but jobs can be automated. So you can take wholesaling and make it into a freedom machine. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's a different level. That's what you've done though, right? You've got a machine working.
It's exactly right. And I always make the sports analogy. You can also do it with music as well, where, you know, you've got somebody like LeBron James, Well, he has a job, right? He has a job. His job is to play basketball. Are you gonna like look down on him because it's a job? Oh, I don't want a job. Well, he has a job. Now, at some point, will he transition to be in the owner's box? Probably, but you have to do your job for a while to earn the right to be in the owner's box. You know what I mean? You just don't come out of the gate and you go, boom, here's a made for you business, fully automated. You don't have to have any experience. You don't have to have any connections. You don't have to have, you don't have to have any time for this. It's just ready to go for you. That doesn't work. I mean, that's just, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's right. It is. I mean, that's just not. That's not real, right? So you have to put in the work so that you earn the right to have a business. You can't just like assume that you have the right to be a business owner because you live in this country. Like, you have to earn it. You got to be able to do something with it. Whether you're investing financially or you're investing your sweat and your efforts, you're going to have to invest something into this thing. And most of the time, in my experience, people are coming with not a lot of funds, but with a lot of passion and a lot of like real willingness to drive and learn and grow. And that's what's exciting about this business, because once you learn how to find discounted properties, you can do anything. You can fix and flip. You can build your portfolio. You could develop. You could be the bank. I mean, it's just, there's so many different avenues, but it starts with finding discounted properties. If
you trace back almost every successful businessman's story, he started as a grunt. He started as a ditch digger. He learned the business from the ground up, doing all the crappy little things that had to be done to make that business run. And that's how come they know how to run the business. So like to your point, don't feel bad. If you're a wholesaler right now and you're doing deal after deal, you're learning how the business works. How did you start? Let's go back to the beginning.
I love it.
Brent Daniels 101,
Yeah, just to put a bow on that last thing real quick, Mitch, I apologize, but like, truly, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think too many people compare themselves to where you're at, Mitch, or where I'm at, or where somebody that's, been through and taken the lumps and taken a lot of, had to pay that stupid tax a lot and had to do a lot of different things. And it has the experience. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. And the worst is when you compare yourself versus what you think you should already be. Right? That's when you start really having problems as an entrepreneur, when you go, I should grow 50% a year every single year and just go crazy with this thing. And that's my expectation. And now you're making that comparison. It's good to have goals, but listen, like, you got to work this thing up. You got to really understand the business. You got to understand that there's certain paths that you have to take to be able to be successful in this thing. And if you get around great people and have great mentors, you're going to be able to do that faster. Anyway,
let's go to Brent 101. Like, here he is out of the box. Who are you? Where are you? And where do you start? Where did you start this career at?
Yeah, I love it. In 2003, got this guy, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Which apparently he sold like 40 million copies of this. So I think most of us have read this thing. But I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and at the time I was, you're young, you're in your low 20s, and that's an interesting transition time for anybody, right? You're going through college, now you're going to go out into the workforce, now you're going to go out and try to provide value for the first time, and I didn't really know what I was supposed to do, and I read this, and I was like, real estate, that's what I got to do. So I got my real estate, and at the time I thought you had to get your real estate license to be able to be a real estate investor. I didn't know. None of my family was in real estate. None of my friends. My friend gave me this and we got into it together, but that's all we knew of it. So got my real estate license, started doing that, did really well, got super cocky, lost it all in 2010-ish because I just leveraged everything. I got the Mercedes, I got the Range Rover, I got the 5 giant houses and rentals and all these things, lost that all. Got a judgment on myself personally, on a personal guarantee, because I had an office space, Mitch, that I had agreed to a 10-year lease with a personal guarantee in January of 2008. And this is a 9,000 square foot spot in Scottsdale, right? So this is high rent, big space. And by the end of the year, we couldn't afford it. And so they slapped a judgment on me for $742,000. And so I had to claw my way out. And I didn't have I had an old, like sand colored Lexus ES 200 or 300. I don't remember what it is that my dad gave me. That was like 2000. It was like 10 years old. And I would just drive around town and I'd see ugly houses. I'd write down the address. I'd go knock on their doors, or I'd try to find the phone number for them and call them up and see if they would consider an offer. And so I went to one house on the end of the street, and the gal didn't want to sell it, but she was the caretaker for a vacant house down the street. And so she got permission. She gave me the phone number for the owner. They lived in New York. I had the name, address, phone number, and I called her up and we made a deal. And I realized if I get the name, address, and phone number of the ugliest houses in the city, I can make an absolute fortune. I know I can do it. I know if I just get a hold of them, I can help solve their problem with this property. And that's what happened. And that's where TTP came about. That's the talk to people. That's the philosophy. That's the mantra, is to every single day go out there and talk to as many distressed property owners as I possibly can.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you what TTP would talk to people. You know, it's amazing. If you tell 100 people what you do, you're probably just going to buy a house, just random people. If you just tell them what you do, I buy houses, I buy junkers, I buy problems, I buy mobile homes, I buy lots, I buy land. You know, someone's going to say, you know, my aunt or my grandma or I have something I've been trying to get rid of or need to get rid of. Can you help me? And
I love that you said that, because I'm looking at my notes here just so that I'm not misquoting here. But we've made like I know it's 280s. I just don't know the exact amount. $280,000 this year from referrals, Mitch, from just posting on social media that I buy houses. 280,000. That's over the top 5% income earners in our country from just turning a camera around and being loud on social media and telling everybody what I do. So you're right. You could talk to 100 people one-on-one and build those relationships. You can also turn your phone around and just tell the whole world that what you do. You know what I mean? It's incredible. But you just got to be loud.
So let's go back to that fatal flaw in the beginning, because so many people make this mistake. They think it's going to last forever, that there's not a cycle, that, you know, that they think the good times are going to be forever. I picked the seller financing strategy, where I buy houses with OPM and sell with owner financing, because it's a very durable strategy that will boom in the hard times, really boom if you have it set up right.
Right.
But so many people that I know, I call it pent up demand. They get a little money and they run out to go buy all the toys that they've seen other successful people have. Mm-hmm. And they think that lets the world know that they made it. It actually can scare the living hell out of private lenders and potential partners, as they go like, you know, this young punk right here has got some lessons to learn, because he's taking and buying $150,000 cars and living this lavish lifestyle. He hasn't gone through the storm yet, and people can see it. I drove a used truck for 15 years before I finally bought a new car.
Yep.
One time, my private lender and a potential partner, who ended up being my partner, he was courting me to be his partner, or to be partners, and he was a wealthy Cuban businessman. And he asked me, why are you driving that truck with 250,000 miles on it? You could drive anything you want. And I said, I said to him, and I think it's the day that he decided to go with me. I said, I'm not interested in cars. I'm interested in freedom.
That's it.
I don't give a shit about the car.
I love it, Mitch.
Iota. When I get where I'm going, I'll buy whatever car I want. Right now, I'm not there.
And it's like, it's really interesting. It's interesting, and I think that we're both fortunate that we built up our businesses like we have, Mitch, and now I'm in that space where some of my best students are asking for funds. They're raising funds, and I tell them, listen, I'm going to do this for a year. But I'm going to tell you this, over the next year, I'm going to be auditing. And I say that word because it's a scary word. It just feels, people hearing this right now are like, oh God, he said the audit word. God, that's so scary. I said, I'm going to be auditing your social media for the next year. And if I see that you're spending more than you're investing and posting, we're not going to renew it for another year. right? And I think that that's just, you have two options when you make money. Are you going to spend it or are you going to invest it? And if it's these young guys that are hard charging, and gals, by the way, young and hard charging, and if they slip into that game of competition over cool stuff and clout and looking great with all these toys, it's irresponsible. And right now, if they just buckle down and just invest their profits as opposed to spending it, one, they won't really need me. They'll always need me in some level, but they won't really need me. They'll be able to fund their own. And two, they're going to be way better business people because they're going to have clarity and they're going to have discipline. And when you have clarity and discipline, you're unstoppable. But if you have clarity that you want to go and do something and you don't have the discipline to keep and invest that money, you're just not going to, it's not long lasting. You're a firework. You're shooting off and you're doing great and you look great, but you're going to blow out and it's done.
Yeah. That fake it till you make it idea. People can take that a little too far.
Yep.
You know, one thing that's really aggravates the hell out of me, there's a lot of people out there talking about, you can be a millionaire and I have a course. And I know for a fact they're having trouble making their car payment. You know, that really pisses me off. It's like, geez, can you at least, get down the road a ways before you start talking about making people millionaires? You haven't made yourself a millionaire yet. So I want to tell a little story that I'm from, and I want you to chime in on it.
I love it.
I bought my first set of storages, mini storages, self storages, but really it was a set of boat storages where they parked their little fishing boat right outside the entrance to a state park on a lake. I bought 15 units for $8,500, and I did not take it. I recognized how great a cash flow this was. There was no carpet, there was no sheetrock, there was nothing. And I was renting these little spaces for $45 a month, and I could add on real easy 1 unit or 5 units or whatever I had in my pocket. And I didn't have to go out big. I could just keep adding when I had something. I bought a bunch of other little mom and pop places that would sell or finance me, whatever I could afford, 25 units here, 30 units there, nothing fancy, class C, maybe class D, little storage places out in the middle of nowhere around the lake where I live. And I did not take any money out of that company for 12 years.
Love it.
Okay. Let me rephrase. My wife and I would take $2,000 out once a year so we could go on a week vacation to reward ourselves for putting up with that business and dumping everything it made back into that business. For 12 years, we took $2,000 a year out of it. Today, I own 1,300 doors and they owe me $100 a month. And I don't owe anything on it.
1,300 doors, you owe nothing?
I owe nothing.
Those are storage units or these are like livable houses?
No, storage units, 10 by 10s, 10 by 20s, 10 by 15s.
And you owe nothing on them?
I owe nothing on. It's $130,000 a month. Of course, I got to pay property tax. I got to have insurance. I got to pay some electric and some water. I got a manager, but you know what I mean? And I built that business over 30 years.
Right.
Of taking out way, way, way less than it made and letting it roll. I could have been driving a Lamborghini 25 years ago. I still don't own one. One was kind of a discipline to stay away from it. Today, I don't need a Lamborghini. If I want to drive a Lamborghini, I'll rent it for a week or a month. And then I'll turn that bastard in and say, that was really fun.
You can get one right. I could get one right now on Turo on my phone. I could go on the app Turo and get a Lamborghini for the week. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? Why are people buying these things? You could get a one that you don't have to take care of, and it's clean and it smells great on an app. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. The oil change on a Lamborghini is $4,500. You know what I mean?
I know. Wow. No, I mean, listen. I think that when I see some people that really want to show that, I think, oftentimes they've either come from a really bad background or, maybe they didn't have a good childhood growing up. Maybe the parents weren't around or it was just a real tough and kind of, uncomfortable upbringing, and this gives some fulfillment. And I think some people have to go through that as kind of therapy for whatever else. But then once it's out, just get it out of your system and do your thing. If you really love that stuff, then go for it. I'm just saying that you're going to go further financially if you invest your money instead of spend it on depreciating things.
Yeah. So let's talk about, when you first start out, you're out there banging on the doors, you're doing everything yourself. You're the acquisition guy, you're the marketing guy, you're the private money raiser guy. You have all the hats.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of the easiest things to delegate so you're freed up to do the important things, which is write contracts. To me, one of the easiest things is bookkeeping, and people underestimate how important the bookkeeping is, because you get behind in the bookkeeping, you can't produce your path financially, then you've postponed your ability to find some really tremendous funds a long ways out. And I'm guilty as hell of that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull my pants down and show everyone my hiney. I finally, 27 years later, started 4 years ago to start to straighten it all out. Awesome. It took 4 years, $240,000. We retraced every deal for the last 4 years that we thought, we went back 4 years. We thought that was enough. And I finally can produce a financial anytime I want. I had to hire people. We just hired a comptroller, you know what I mean? To really, because it's that big now, you know what I mean? So I'm owner financing about 70 houses a year, buying about 100, owner financing about 70 of them. We're carrying about 300 mortgages. On any given month, we're collecting on 300 mortgages. We'd love it to get to 500, but we can't get to 500 because every time we buy another 20 houses, 10 or 15 people pay us off. Yeah. Which is not a bad day, believe me, because when people pay off their notes, there's a big chunk in the middle that's mine. But, so we're stuck at like 300 because of the erosion of notes. And so I'm using these notes as cash flow. We do the math on this. Yep. And believe me, I know there's a bigger guy down the street. There's probably one sitting right across from me I'm talking to right now. It's not about, am I the biggest in the room? Best. I'm just telling you where I'm at, for better or for worse, okay? I got 300 mortgages averaging $500 positive cash flow per month. And so that's $150,000 a month coming in. Yep. Now you got about $50,000 worth of overhead, counting my salary, counting my partner's salary, counting the office and all that stuff. And we just let the other 100 roll every month. We let it roll. And what do we do with it? We buy storage facilities. We have to buy something that's forever. So you take the one-time cash events, like the house flipping and the wholesaling. That's it. And you take the temporary cash events, like getting a down payment and collecting payments for 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 years. But it's temporary because notes run out. And you have to take all the money from all that you're making. You have to survive, or pick a lifestyle that you want to support, hopefully not up to the limit of everything you make, but and then you have to take everything extra and you have to buy into a forever model, which would be apartment complexes or strip centers or something that you're going to rent forever. I chose boat and mini storages and semi-truck parking. But I love it. And that's how we continue to grow. And at some point, it gets kind of exponential where you have all that you need to live. I personally find I can't spend much more than $275,000 a year. I can only eat so much. I can only drink so much. I don't need a bigger house. I don't need more cars. I don't need anything, But that might come a little bit with being 60. I'm 60. Like I have done and lived a lot, and I've already done it all. But you're a young 60, Mitch. Yeah, well, young 60. And so now it's starting to get exponential. You're building legacy wealth, legacy income for your family or whoever, or your charity or whoever's important to you. Yep. And at some point, and tell me if you've gotten there yet, Brent, more money's good, and it's the game, it's the Monopoly game that you play, and that's how you measure. But you need more of an emotional reward these days than you need a monetary reward. And my emotional reward is finding the right people that I think are ready and teaching them how to quit their job, become financially independent, even on the most modest level. And the reason, maybe you make $4,500 a month at your job, or $6,000 a month, whatever it is. Once you replace that with some cash flow that's coming in come hell or high water every month, you get to walk away from that JOB, and it frees up about 2,600 hours a year so that you can become who you're supposed to be. Who are you supposed to be? You may not even know what you want to be. Maybe that 2,600 hours the first year is just to figure out who you want to be, Yep. And then for the rest of your life, you have that. So I say the number one objective for anybody starting out, forget about the $1 million goals, forget about the big houses. And your job is to replace your income and free up 2,600 hours a year. That's all it is. And for a lot of people, that's under 10 grand a month.
Yep.
A lot of people's under 10 grand a month. And it could be the key to opening up millions for you, because gaining 2,600 hours a year that you decide what you do with is huge.
Yep. Well, Mitch, I truly believe this, and this is just from talking to a lot of people and being around for a while now. We just have different brains. You know what I mean? Like we're just wired differently. If you want to be a real estate entrepreneur, an entrepreneur itself for sure, but want to have that freedom and understand that 2,600 hours is a choice. That's a choice. We're programmed. You go to school, you sit in rows. You go to college, you sit in rows. You get a job, you work in cubicles. Then you just, you die and you're in a row, and it's a cemetery. It's a whole thing, right? And there's certain people that have these weird brains that are just like, what? Why are we doing this? Like, there's so much going on. Like, can we go out and provide value in different ways? Can we do it ourselves? And that's what being an entrepreneur is. And I truly believe we just have different brains. And for everybody that would be listening to this podcast or watching it, I don't know if you do a video of this, but anybody that's interested in this, we just have different brains. Lean into that. Understand that you're going to be different. I remember, Mitch, after reading this, I gave it to like all of my cousins and my parents and everybody. Nobody read it. Nobody cared. And then I started getting somewhat successful in real estate. I went back. Nobody read it. Nobody cared. And then I'm like, now 2 multi-million-dollar businesses, put it out to everybody. Nobody cares. You really have to be, I really think that you have to have a certain type of brain that is excited about doing these things. And you're not worried that you don't let the fear of the unknown and the fear of failure and the fear of not having security like stop you from taking the action of doing the things that you want to do and having those 2,600 hours a year where you get the opportunity to engineer how that goes. And I think that's huge.
I read this statement said financial freedom happens when your wants and your needs are exceeded by your passive cash flow. It was a revelation to me. It haunted me for days.
Yeah, sure.
I was dissecting that sentence. First thing I did was replace passive income with the word cash flow, because I don't believe anything's passive. There's no such word as passive.
I love that you mentioned that. Yeah.
Your financial.
I don't even want it passive. Like some things I want passive, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? There's only so much vacation time. You can just turn it off. I mean, at this point, maybe I'll be different later in life or whatever else, but go ahead.
Hey, it would be like, I'm going to go play golf, but I'm going to have this guy hit the ball for me. I mean, what's the point of the game?
Right. like this is such an exciting business. Like I can't imagine like just being all of a sudden just being like, well, I guess I already won. I'll just go try to find another game. Like, I don't know. I enjoy this too much. I think that it's a lot of fun. I think that you can be the magnet in your world to bring in a lot of interesting and creative people and do something special out of nothing, pull it out of thin air, out of the ethers, right? And to be able to do that, I mean, it's artistic in some way, and it's exciting, and it's building businesses, and it hits every part of the brain that is exciting and gives you energy. And you get to the point where I think the real goal is I want to do things that give me energy instead of things that drain me of energy. You know what I mean? Like it's not even time management, Mitch, it's energy management. You can have all the time in the world, but if you're sick, that sucks, right? If you're tired all the time and you've got millions of dollars, that's not great. That's not fulfilling. you might get some kind of happiness, but not joy, certainly not joy. So, I mean, it's just, this is an energizing business. This is something where you can put yourself in a position to really get a lot of energy out there and be a magnet for incredible creative people.
So let's talk about how you kind of freed yourself up in the wholesaling business.
Sure.
You're out there doing everything, wearing all the hats. Well, when did it start to wear on you, or when did it dawn on you, like, I need to work my way out of this business and see if I can operate this business from 10,000 feet? Tell us about when you first started that.
Yeah, first off, so I'm going out there and I'm trying to find deals. I'm trying to figure this thing out. I didn't even know what wholesaling was. So I was literally, because I have my license, I was getting like a 3% finder's fee from my cash buyers. And I didn't even know that I could just buy it myself and sell it to them, or lock it up and sell it to them. So there was a little bit of a learning curve. And then in there, Mitch, I wanted to get so overwhelmed with pipeline because I needed the net profits. I needed to get out of this judgment. I had to settle that thing for, I think it was like $56,000. So I had to save up and do that. I had to pay that judgment off and get that off my plate. I had to like fight and claw and pay off some other debts, and then finally get my head above water, and then, get everything cleaned up, the credit cleaned up and everything cleaned up. And finally, after a few years and 45,000, and I really want to stress this, I've talked to 45,000 people on cold calls, real property owners here in Phoenix, Arizona, before I hired anybody to make calls for me. And that was the first step, Mitch, is I got a phone prospector that I hired to help me make some calls and generate leads. And then I brought on 2 acquisition managers, Julie and Billy at the time, and then grew from there. And then I brought on a disposition manager. So I've got a really tight team. We've got a really, really good net that I take a bulk of it, but then I give huge bonuses at the end of the year for my team. And everybody seems really excited about the business.